Welcome to the Bring Back the Magic podcast. Warning, side effects may include health, wealth, and happiness. This podcast will show you how to use toxic people as fuel and bring back the magic in your life. Now here's your host, CEO of World Class Media.
Hey everyone, this is episode 2 of BringBackYourMagic.com, and I am going to show you how to become more attractive to your clients, to your spouse, to everyone that you come in contact with, even on your advertising messages. I've obviously been doing advertising for the past decade. This is actually episode number 2. If you missed episode number 1, where I lay out the attraction killers. Now, I would say that the attraction killers are sometimes even more important than attractive characteristics. And in this episode, I'm going to lay out the attractive characteristics. But if you haven't listened to episode number 1, I would say listen to that as well. You don't have to listen to it first. You just have to know how important it is to avoid attraction killers. Now, in episode number 1, I talked about there are two sides. It's a two-terminal universe. You have men, you have women. You have plus, you have minus on batteries, for example. You have alternating currents up and down. It is a two-terminal universe. You have the North Pole, the South Pole. You have two sides to every coin, right? You have yin and you have yang, if you go into Chinese culture. And you have good, you have evil. You have God, you have the devil in religion. It runs so deep. This is a two-terminal universe. Computers, ones and zeros, right? I think you get the idea. There are very attractive characteristics, and I would say the most overall attractive thing is to be cause. To that which is cause, everything draws. Cause draws, right? Effect rejects. So if you are a victim or you're getting constantly, hurt by things or various things are happening to you all the time, that is not attractive. However, if you are a go-getter, you are out there and you are ambitious, you are, to me, one of the most attractive things in a woman is somebody who is very good at what they do. Somebody who is competent is the key word, right? So competence for me is very attractive, especially, there are additional building blocks like they should be good looking, they should be fit. Those are all important things, but they're not deal breakers, right? People tend to attract people to their same level. So I wanted to tell you a story about my wife. And what's funny is my wife actually decided that she would marry me months before she approached me. She knew I was dating somebody else. She saw me. I was doing private security. Picture this. I was on my security bike. We didn't have guns, but we had, pepper spray and handcuffs and stuff like that. And I used to do private security for the campus around my church. Basically, she saw me riding around and she said, I'm going to marry that guy. That was attractive to me because she was super aggressive, but sometimes, and I'm glad she didn't come chasing after me or something because that would have probably turned me off. But I was actually dating somebody when she sent me the first letter. And I was like, oh, sorry, I'm dating somebody. Through subsequent letters and writing back and forth, we got to know each other. And I said, what I really liked is I knew she would be very stable and would be, with me for the rest of my life if I married her. So that to me was attractive. Anyhow, so know that I've also never really had a problem with girlfriends. Now, I also take care of my appearance. For example, I wear contacts, and if I didn't wear contacts, I'd probably have the thickest glasses possible. In fact, they're like minus 11 or something. I'm going to get laser eye surgery soon. Anyhow, I've worn contacts since I was 16. I take care. I go to the gym regularly. Right now, I go to the gym about 3 times a week, if not 4 or 5 times a week. This episode is all about what you can do to become more attractive. I've created an acronym that lists out the most attractive characteristics. What I want you to do is try to practice to become more witty. Women are attracted to people who are witty. I remember last night I was on a rerun binge and I was watching Lethal Weapon with Mel Gibson, and Mel Gibson was super witty in that movie, and he was just very funny, and he was just an attractive guy back then. If you haven't listened to episode number 1, let's talk about becoming this new acronym, and the acronym is FUNNY. FUNNY. And I'm going to list out the most attractive characteristics. This can apply in your marketing. This can apply to your spouse. This can apply to attracting your ideal partner. The first letter is F for funny. And what that means is you're funny. I guess it's kind of funny that the first letter is funny. But F for funny. Now, you should be comical and you should make jokes. That is super attractive. You know, they want somebody who can crack jokes all the time. They want somebody who can takes things lightheartedly or is not so serious, right? You should just be funny and just roll with it. Very attractive. The second letter is U, which means under control. Now, we all have moments in our lives when we are stressed out. In fact, I'm going to be perfectly honest because my whole episodes are based on real, recognize as real. I am sitting in my car, in my garage, because my mother-in-law had chest pains and she had to run to the hospital. She was watching our kids on summer break, and I had to go home and help her do this. But I promised myself that I was going to get through this episode. So I am sitting in my car, in my garage, where it is nice and quiet. Kids aren't running around. And I'm recording this episode for you. So that leads us to the letter U. U means under control. Now, are you able to keep your emotions under control? If you listen to the previous episode, I talked about fighting, which would be the opposite. If you avoid fighting, and I call it go for a walk, step outside, get away from the fight if you need to. If you're angry, if you're upset, try not to communicate until you walk it off or you sleep 24 hours. Do the 24-hour thing where you actually step out and revisit this a day from now, you know? If you are under control and you don't get upset, it is super attractive to the opposite person, right? Have you ever felt somebody who you're just like, when I'm around this person, I can just relax? That is super attractive to women, right? Funny, under control. Can you keep your emotions under control? And here's the secret tip. When you keep your emotions under control, it actually causes the other person to eventually reset. If you maintain being under control, you have the upper hand and you are cause, and they will eventually reset to your state of being. They will chill out if you remain calm, if you remain under control. Now, I can say that don't be stupid with this. Like if somebody's holding a gun to you, don't be like, hey man, just chill out. You know, or I once thought that if I, stared down somebody who I was about to arrest, they would comply, but they punched me in the nose, for example, right? So you gotta obviously be sensible with this. But if you're upset or you're angry, go out for a walk, give it 24 hours, remain calm, and the other person will reset to your calmness. They will calm down as well. And when you do that, you become cause, right? They become the effect. You become attractive. All right. So first letter is F for funny, U for under control, N. Now this is a tricky thing. Now women have a good side and they have a bad side, right? They have a naughty side as well as a good side. If you can communicate to both sides, in fact, if you communicate to the naughty side, and this is where you avoid going into the friend zone that people talk about. You don't want to be in the friend zone. You want to be in the naughty zone. You want to be in the attractive, funny, playful zone where you actually remain attractive. If you go into the friend and he's just a cuddly teddy bear who I can say anything to, that's the friend zone. But if you remain naughty, and in naughty, the way I do it is, I consider naughty like they say something and you make a remark that has a sexual innuendo. What occurs is people will say something. For example, I'm behind you all the way, right? And you can crack up and you can say, yeah, I'm behind you all the way. Or, something like that. Almost anything you say can be turned into an innuendo, like, wow, that's so amazing. I'll show you something amazing. Or, you actually get good at this because you can turn it around, but be funny, but be naughty, right? Like, oh, now what occurs is unattractive people avoid sexual innuendos and whatnot, and attractive people actually feature them. Now, I don't say to be a jerk. The way I consider this, and I'm going to get into the next N, so F-U-N-N-Y. The first one is naughty, so be naughty, right? Talk to women's naughty side. Talk to the naughty side, and that is where you will remain attractive, and you'll stay out of the friend zone. Now, that leads to the next N, which is nice. Now, if you're naughty and nice, the way I look at it is naughty is a short-term attractiveness, but you turn into a jerk if you're just naughty all the time, right? If you have the long-term niceness, like you get the door, you pay attention when women are talking, you don't make jokes all the time, and when you have to be real, you're real. And when you don't take responsibilities lightly, you take them strongly, and you're a strong leader, and you do it in the best interest of your partner, you have the long-term as well as the short-term benefits in mind. So the way I look at this is kind of like Will Smith, right? He's a naughty, playful kind of guy, but he also takes really good responsibility for his family, and he doesn't, he takes that stuff seriously. So, take the real things seriously, like birthdays and anniversaries and stuff like that, but be naughty and playful whenever somebody says something that can be considered an innuendo. Make a joke about it. My wife's looking for sausage in the supermarket, and I'll say, I got a sausage right here, or something like that. That could, some people may consider that too much. My wife cracks up, and that's my whole goal. It's you want them to be able to punch you on the shoulder and be like, oh, that's gross, or whatever, right? That's the goal. So, naughty and nice. Nice is long-term, naughty is short-term attractive, right? Okay, you can be a jerk, but have their best interests at heart, right? That's the whole point of this. And that leads us to the Y, F-U-N-N-Y. The Y stands for you take the lead. Now, this is the most important part of being attractive, and I left it for the end so that you would listen all the way to the end. But the Y is for you take the lead. Now, what occurs is women are attracted to people who, take the lead and who are men, or basically make the decisions, put their foot down when something isn't okay. They don't like pushovers necessarily. That doesn't mean you have to yell or fight with them. You just say, hey, for example, if you make a date and the person didn't show up for half an hour, just leave. Don't cling on them. And when they call you back, be like, hey, you weren't there. So, I thought we were meeting. It's actually not cool with me that, somebody doesn't show up or leaves me hanging. So, call me back when you're ready to show up on time. Or, you put your foot down a little bit. Don't be a pushover, but also it's very simple. It's as simple as this. When you take the lead, let me illustrate an example for you. Say you're calling a potential partner or somebody you want to take on a date, and you say, hey, Julie, this is Charlie. Hey, listen, I was wondering if you wanted to go out tonight. What do you want to do? Boom, you're automatically assigning the lead to the other person, and that is super unattractive. the way you should do it, and it's a very subtle change. It's a very subtle change. I learned this from John Alanis. I have to give credit where credit's due. The why is you take the lead. And I was saying it's a very subtle shift. It's you call the person and say, hey, I feel like steak. Do you want to come? And you're taking the lead. You're inviting their agreement to do what you've already set out to do. And if they say no, you say, all right, cool, I'm going to go out and have a good time anyways. Now, being able to have a good time without the partner is so important because you don't want to be clingy, right? You want to avoid that clinginess. In the previous episode, I talked about becoming clingy. So if you have the lead and if you can have fun without the partner, they're going to feel like they're missing out. And they're going to be attracted to that. They're going to be like, oh man, I wish I could go. So you always want to flip the coin so that you're always in lead. Now this applies to everything. It applies to walking in front when you're walking to a date. Feel free. Drive the car. Don't ask them to drive you. Be a man. Now this is primarily focused towards men, right? When you're a man, you want to take the lead. Now if you're a woman, disregard all this.
Warning, side effects may include health, wealth, and happiness. This podcast will show you how to use toxic people as fuel and bring back the magic in your life. Now here's your host, CEO of World Class Media,